Well, first off, I want to say that this is an absolute honor to be speaking at the inaugural European CPAC. This is a beautiful city, rich in culture and history, and I'm looking forward to seeing this become an annual tradition and visiting many, many more times in the future. I'm the president of the New York Young Republican Club, which is the oldest and largest young Republican club in the country, going back to the founding of the Republican Party in 1856. In addition, our storied institution shares history with Hungary, believe it or not. In the 1950s, during and after the Hungarian Revolution, our club organized a massive rally in support of that revolution in Madison Square Garden. And in addition, we had a Hungarian Refugee Relief Committee, which helped bring many Hungarians to the United States who eventually became naturalized citizens, and I hope to this day still voting members of the Republican Party. So it's great to be in Hungary now, representing that same institution and speaking to you all on the virtues of conservatism, populism, and the future of our movement, and what the media is doing to destroy it. Now, the political struggle in Hungary mirrors the battle that we are enduring in the United States. Hungary has been subject to attack after attack by the globalist-controlled, leftist international media for daring to maintain its sovereignty, rejecting so-called liberal democracy, and refusing to become entangled in foreign conflicts that lack a defined purpose. In the United States, we see non-stop media propaganda pushing the public psyche towards World War III. Our politicians have the gall to travel to Kiev for a photo op, while American infants and their parents cry in hunger and frustration due to a shortage of baby formula. It's easy to waste $40 billion to poke the Russian bear, but no one will invest such funds in the American people. And in the meantime, inflation is rising to historic levels, and this is crushing the working class in our country and in countries across the world. And for our elites, this is also of a secondary concern to the events in Ukraine. Since the second half of the 20th century, armed American intervention has followed a similar pattern. Our media and political class have learned nothing from the failures in Vietnam, the Balkans, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, or any other failed military expedition in the last 2 generations. And despite their progressive claims, the media continues to beat the drum of war with abandon. Outside of a handful of America First congressmen, there is a bipartisan consensus in Washington, D.C. that Americans' first and foremost duty is to keep the world safe for democracy, which is an empty Orwellian neologism, for an economic zone where the profits of ruthless corporate interests come first, and the schedule for flying the LGBTQ flag and the Black Lives Matter flag outside of our embassies comes second. Social media entities, controlled and corrupted by the intelligence community, cheer for the replacement of Old Glory with the rainbow flag as a true victory. The complacency of these fools knows no bound. To most Americans, who strive to live their lives without the interference of politics, the image of government pushing these divisive social issues is all that remains of American values under the rule of old man Joe Biden, the mush-brained globalist puppet that some call our president. Now, we are so thankful for Hungary because it sets an example and gives hope to beleaguered conservatives worldwide. Hungary has promoted natalism. Hungary has ejected the Soros network from its borders. Hungary has protected its own national borders and protected the interests of Hungarians outside of them. They have kept migrants out, and they have halted degeneracy in its tracks. What our leftist enemies have framed in the media as the unstoppable force of progress has been derailed here in Hungary. Prime Minister Orban and his leadership team have shown the world that it is possible to unite against multiculturalism, globalism, forced diversity, and rootless capitalism in favor of a national unity, cultural pride, sovereign will, and social dignity for families. Hungary is a beacon that gives conservatives in America and worldwide hope that Western civilization can be redeemed. Now, contrary to the lies that are peddled by the media elites and globalist European and American politicians, Hungary is actually an example of the success of true democracy and representative political process. The people have come together in an environment where all sides have media representation under Prime Minister Orban, who enjoys overwhelming popularity for standing for national strength. He was re-elected by a record margin in the most recent election, which our club was proud to endorse him in, and because he represents the needs of his people and the will of his people. By rejecting the distant, decadent elites and their demented authoritarian fantasies, the Prime Minister has assembled an impressive constituency that has put his nation on a trajectory that would allow future generations the ability to share a safe, functional, and coherent national home. Hungary has frequently become a target because it is a shining example of how easily the globalist agenda can be repelled. The Prime Minister's tenacity has demonstrated that the resistance is far from futile. The people of a nation can be united around ideals of patriotism and traditionalism. It is in their souls, and it is what many people yearn for, and all they need is strong leadership to shepherd them back to national glory. This is what CPAC Hungary is about creating, a new leadership class of the conservative movement in every Western nation centered around the ideas relevant to this day and age. Because we are facing off against the technocrats, against the system of control that has been generations in the making. And it has all the institutional backing of the most powerful forces in the world. Old and new media companies aim to be the masters of reality, getting people to fall in line no matter how big the lie. We need leadership that rises to this immense challenge. We demand nothing short of an American Orbanism. We accept nothing less than total victory against the forces that want to subjugate Americans beneath an international cabal of crooks, criminals, and other lowly reprobates. The United States, with the rise of President Donald J. Trump, who humiliated and debauched the media elites, has worked to that end exactly in the United States. And this is just the beginning of the work that Prime Minister Orban has spent more than a decade achieving here in Hungary. The Prime Minister even took a short break from power before the Hungarian people brought him back with gusto. Sooner rather than later, Americans will follow the Hungarian standard forward. The Prime Minister has provided us with a roadmap to follow, and we will fearlessly achieve those same goals on our shores. We will establish a form of conservatism that sees the media as the enemy and actually conserve